You know, there's over 300 websites in the world for people who like to have sex with balloons. That tells me that whatever it is you want to do,
you can probably succeed.
There's a market for it. So,
and another episode of Why Perry Belcher is retarded.
I don't want to insult retarded people. I'm dumber than that. I got a text earlier. Hey, Uncle Perry, I hope you don't mind me reaching out to you directly. It would be most helpful to go deeper into how to get clients consistently with organic traffic and other vehicles so we can have success with more of these models.
There's a difference between revenue and profit.
If you're in a position right now where you're like, gosh, I've been studying all this stuff for all this time and tried all these things and nothing ever seems to work for me. And here's the booger. I'm going to say something that's probably going to sound unbelievable to you. Hey, and welcome back to the Trainwreck Show. I'm Perry Belcher, the unstoppable force of sales and marketing, along with Emma Rainville, the immovable object that is operations. Answering the screaming question, can yoga pants actually cry? Emma, how are you?
That's such a... I was like, hey, he's actually being nice. I'm not going to interject this time. I'll just let this ride. And I should have known better.
Two things that never lies, little kids in yoga pants.
All right, welcome to the Trainwreck Show. Make sure you like and subscribe. Perry, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk, actually, I got a text earlier, and it's not probably going to take too long, but I want to talk a little bit about...
the hamster wheel of death.
The hamster wheel of doom, I call it.
Doom. Right.
You know, I think this could be helpful to some of you guys.
I think it could be helpful for anyone, including us. Like it's relevant. It's relevant for everyone.
I could have I would be so much richer. So much richer. Marcus Aurelius said, do what you do better and forget everything else.
Right.
And I've had my own version of that. I've said for a long time now that I don't try to get good at stuff that I'm not any good at. I already, I'm too fucking old, right? If I'm not already good at it, I don't want to try.
Unfortunately, you're good at a lot of things, so you keep...
That's the sucky part. I wish I weren't because I'm so incredibly curious.
Right.
Right. And I'm pretty good at a bunch of stuff. I always say all my knowledge is an inch deep and a mile wide, right? And it's kind of true. And I'm creating myself.
Like almost every girlfriend you've ever had.
I've become a generalist, right? And that sucks.
Yeah.
It really kind of sucks. Because Perry, what do you do? Fuck. Here we go, right? But honestly, I know how to do a lot of stuff. And I don't do most of it pretty well because I've had a lot of time, right? But I probably burnt 20 years of my career in what I call the hamster wheel of doom. And I think it's really easy to burn up 20 years here.
Yeah.
And basically...
I think that many people over the course of 50-year career...
That Coke had something in it. I'm just sniffling like crazy.
Well, it was the ketamine that I mixed.
What's that? Okay, what's it called? You said what? That's
Calvin Klein.
That's a Calvin Klein.
Calvin Klein.
All right.
I like Louboutins better.
I don't know what that is. I don't know any of that shit.
Yeah. It's shoes, but it's actually shoes.
I know what those are. I have some.
It's actually shoes. Anyway, I'm trying so hard to keep on track. It's like ADD meets ADHD, and yeah, okay.
Squirrel.
I have no idea what we're talking about. Okay, so I think over a 50-year career, I think, and I've seen it time and time and time again, and it's part of the reason I wrote my book. It's part of the reason people pay me money is
a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Some idiots pay you too much money.
Like you. But the reason is because entrepreneurs are generally curious people.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of really great ideas. And when they have an idea that they haven't plugged in, they feel like they've lost money. They've lost opportunity. And so
there's some truth to that.
No, there absolutely is. However, if you focused on ideas that surround what we're already doing, for example, you and I have finally, taken us a long time, but we finally found our visionary integrated growth. And it's like, okay, we have Ignite Mastermind.
Yep.
Those people need to launch businesses. We created Make It Real.
Yep.
Those people need hand-holding. We created Boardroom.
Yep.
From there, like,
as they graduate. Yeah.
Qualified.org.
Yeah.
Which I think it's launching next month. And then each thing that we've been launching compiles to the traffic source that we already have that we don't have to go chase.
Correct.
To a demographic that we already know how to speak to.
Or we could have sold tacos. And you got to build a whole new audience. You got to build a whole new audience.
Right. That'll be our next fight. But
everybody loves a good taco.
Right. So why don't you go build a taco? I'm going to stay over here where we're making majillions, okay? Taking your ideas and your curiosity and figuring out, instead of how to have different, how to have more.
Yeah.
And how to continue to layer on more and more and more. And that's something when we can get you focused in doing that, you're very, very
There is a point where experienced entrepreneurs do just burn out on an area.
Right.
They just don't want to do it anymore, no matter what. And there is a time to make a pivot.
I would rather die
than make my $2 million a year that I make it doing
$2 million a year. I'd rather die than continue in this $60 million business for one more minute.
But this applies.
But I built it on cards, so it can't be sold.
But there are different stages. Mark Ford, I think, is one of the most brilliant guys in the world. Sat down with me once and was showing me the stages of business all the way from be a great episode for us to do, from birth of a business to toddler to adolescence to teenager, teen, young adult, maturity. Yeah. And old. And you need different things as those businesses mature. And if you can get a business to maturity, and you can in 3 years, aggressively 5 years, if you're normal, you can step away and go do that taco stand that you want to do once you've built some resources or whatever. But what
if you leave the more person inside?
Right. I've built some wonderful businesses in the past that I absolutely purposely destroyed.
And another episode of Why Perry Belcher is retarded.
Yeah. I don't want to insult retarded people. I'm dumber than that. I've literally had multi-million-dollar businesses torn up by multi-million-dollar pieces.
They just took a match to.
Yeah, that took a match to.
Why?
Because I was bored with it and I felt trapped in it, so I'll burn it down.
Yeah.
Or I would turn it over to somebody I knew couldn't handle it.
I'll make it their fault.
Then I can ride back in and save the day, though.
Right.
I can save it.
Right.
And I get to look like the hero. Our minds play incredible games on us when we're
batshit crazy.
This is after you're already successful.
Right.
But before that,
I have to prove it over and over and over again.
Before that, it's a different animal, right? So I got a text today, and it was a great piece.
Can we read the text?
Sure.
Probably shouldn't say who it's from.
My phone's not on, but I'll turn it on, and I'll read it to you in a second. Let's wait. This is going to be, I think, a really good lesson for you guys, especially if you're in a position right now where you're like, gosh, I've been studying all this stuff for all this time, and I spent a lot of money on training or whatever the case may be. Maybe I haven't spent any, I've tried all these things and nothing ever seems to work for me. And I know that it's working for other people, yada, yada, yada. Here we go. I'll read this to you.
Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. 47 updates later. Look, notifications.
Why do you have TikTok on your phone? You're way too old for that.
I got the TikToks.
I got the ticketed tacos. My rents the other day called me. Eric goes, Emma, did you know that the tickety tackities have boobies? I found boobies on tickety tackety.
There's how I find it.
There we go.
Uncle Perry. That's how I looked it up. Hey, Uncle Perry. I hope you don't mind me reaching out to you directly. I just got the email about your upcoming POD training. This is a products on demand training I'm doing. While the trainings on these different business models are great, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. In my humble opinion, and speaking from personal pain point, it would be most helpful to go deeper into how to get clients consistently with organic traffic and other vehicles so we can have success with more of these models. Even the traffic training that we did, I won't say the person's name, was a little too high level for me, yada, yada, yada. Please consider doing some in-depth training and getting organic traffic to our sites and the offers for initial clients. Again, I thoroughly enjoy everything I get in Ignite. The offers far worth the money, but I would like to dive deeper into some of these opportunities instead of having so many opportunities presented to me. So this person is in our Ignite Mastermind group, and the Ignite Mastermind group, I do bring in experts. I either teach or I bring in experts that
just put it down, face down. You don't have to touch it.
either teach business models that I know or that I'm emerging that we're using in our businesses, or I'll bring in experts to do, because I want to expose people to as many cutting edge opportunities as I can in that group. And we teach them very in depth. We teach multi-day workshops. We follow up, yada, yada, yada. But I've realized I have done some people a disservice, and I'm helping to perpetuate what is already somewhat of a disease.
Right.
And this is what I call the hamster wheel of doom. And I did it for the first 20 years of my career. And I made money, I lost money. I made money, I lost money. I make money, I go bankrupt. I make money, I'd be partying it up on private planes, and the next thing you know, I'd have no money. A lot of that had to do with divorces. But if you ever want to get motivated, by the way, just get divorced. So the hamster wheel of doom basically starts out with you may have a job, you may be doing whatever, and you're stumbling along and you see something, you go, man, that's a good business idea. Or your brother-in-law or your friend or whatever.
Better known as shiny object syndrome.
Your brother-in-law or somebody you know starts a business, and all of a sudden they've moved out of the neighborhood, they're living in a big house, they're driving a nice car, and you're like, man, I'd sure like to do what they do. Now, take that and times 100,000. And that's called TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, where every 3 thumb scrolls, somebody's telling you about an opportunity where you can make a lot of money. And here's the booger. I'm going to say something that's probably going to sound unbelievable to you, but it's true. Most of those opportunities are actually legitimate, and most of those opportunities could make you money, right? But where they sell you short and they do you a disservice and you do yourself a disservice is by assuming they're easy, right? By assuming that they're telling you it's easy, or you're assuming that it's easy because it looks simple. Simple does not equal easy. Simple can still be very difficult, right? And the simpler and the more common, believe it or not, usually the more difficult.
Generally, whenever any of you tell me how much something costs or how easy something is going to be, I multiply it with money by 100, and with how hard it is by about 1,000, because none of you think about the details.
Well, I'm not talking about that. Like I'm experienced, but and I do have a higher level of success at the things that I attempt because I've had experiences in the past. But when you're starting out, especially if you've never been in a business before, your degree of difficulty is probably going to be higher because you don't know what
you don't know.
So you go buy a course on, how to do X, right? How to grow earthworms for fun and profit. And you're like, oh, and the guy's on the other end of the camera saying, okay, you take a bucket, you throw some dirt in it, you throw some worms in it. Pretty soon there's going to be worms everywhere, and everybody's going to buy your worms and you're going to get rich. And you go, wow, I can do that, right? So you finally commit to one of these. You say, you know what? That sounds pretty good. Buckets are cheap. Dirt's cheap. Worms are cheap. I'm going to grow worms. This is going to be awesome. And you start growing worms. Well, you find out that maybe it takes longer to grow worms than you originally thought. Or maybe you're in a too dry of a climate to grow worms, or whatever the case may be. And this could be building Facebook audiences. This could be...
The cost of worms went way up, but since he filmed the course, there was a shortage.
Right. Yeah, and the course is 3 years old. You didn't know. Or somebody's teaching you the cutting edge market of buying Google ads, right? Or whatever. Sometimes you don't know if the information's good, if the person ever did it themselves or not, if it's outdated, whatever. And then you get in it, irregardless of all that. If a person is an amazing provider, even almost as good as me, if they're an amazing provider, it doesn't matter because you're going to meet resistance along the way. There's no doubt about it. And when so what typically happens, you start off looking through 1,000 things, which now you're exposed to 1,000 things. Because as soon as you decide you're going to grow worms, some other guy over here just sends you an ad on why rabbits are better than worms, right? So there's always somebody selling you the next best thing. But eventually, so you talk yourself out of a lot of great opportunities because you start psychoanalyzing what could go wrong. But then eventually the pain of working in your job is greater than the potential pleasure of owning a business and having a degree of freedom and some wealth. So you jump off the end. You decide, okay, I'm going to go for this one. I'm going to I'm going to sell stuff on Amazon. That's what I'm going to do. Or I'm going to get in the print on demand thing. I'm going to make shirts and hats and mugs or whatever. I understand that. I can do that. And you jump off and you get started and you run into a hurdle and you learn how to get around that hurdle. That takes a little while. And then you run into another hurdle and you learn to get around that hurdle and you don't realize it, but you're becoming more competent, right? And then you get another hurdle and you learn to get around that hurdle, right? And you're still not successful yet, but you've gotten by a certain degree of trouble and learn from it. Then you hit another hurdle and you're like, man, this is just too hard and I'm tired. And selling t-shirts doesn't work, right? Or selling on Amazon doesn't work, or raising rabbits doesn't work, or whatever the thing is that you decide that because you hit resistance in 3 or 4 points, that business model is not a viable business model, right? And what do? Start flipping through Instagram again, make money raising chinchillas. Ooh, chinchillas. I bet I could do that. And here's what sucks. You were beginning to have a certain degree of what's the word I'm looking for?
You were starting to get momentum.
Yeah. And a certain degree of competence. Right. You didn't realize that you, by hitting those walls and working around them, you were developing competence in doing this thing. And you hit a bunch of those and you developed a certain degree of competence, but you typically don't go from raising worms to raising crickets. You go from raising worms to opening a hot dog restaurant, right? Because you want something so polar opposite that thing you just failed at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In our world, everybody in our world,
or even that you succeeded at.
Yeah.
It isn't always that you failed at.
From our $3,000 mastermind group to our $35,000 mastermind, it doesn't matter. Those people are all looking at the shiny object that is the grass that's always greener on the other side. If they're selling on Amazon, they want to sell information. If they're selling information, they want to sell on Amazon. If they got a coaching business, they want to be selling physical product. Whatever the case may be. Point is, you completely cash in and lose that confidence you built in that attempt that maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year of your life that you go, yeah, well, that ain't going to work out. You cash in, but the itch is still there. You've got a chronic disease now. And that disease is, I must start a business, right? So you've got that chronic disease. And the more you flip through your social media channels, the more you see people being successful in businesses, whether that's true or not.
Right.
You believe that it is. So that that rash comes back up and you got to scratch it with something else. So now you're going to start a photography business. You were selling worms. That didn't work out. Now I'm going to go be a photographer, right? And you start off at ground zero again.
Meanwhile, you got the LLC for the hot dog business, but you forgot about it and never did anything with it.
And you're getting sales tax estimates levied against you. You're going to get a letter from the state that you owe them $10,000 pretty soon. Ask me how I know. So that's what happens. And you continue to do that over and over and over and over again. And you never get anywhere. And I don't know who's listening to this right now that's going to benefit from some of that, but somebody's listening to this right now that's going to go, shit, I've been doing this for years, and they don't ever gain a nickel. And the opposite to that,
there's a difference between revenue and profit.
Yeah. The opposite of that is the person who comes up with an idea they think's a great idea and carries it around in their pocket for 10 years and never executes on it. But they go to every marketing conference. I've been to so many of these things. Hey, Perry.
That drives me absolutely crazy.
Hey, Perry, how you doing? I've been following you for 10 years. I'm the guy that does it. What do you do? Well, I do the, oh yeah, I remember you. You're the worm guy, right? Yeah, I'm the worm guy. How's the worm business? Well, we're about to launch next month.
Yeah, we got to get the page perfect. We got to get the page perfect.
I already got the domain.
We got to get
That's my favorite. But gosh almighty damn, right? So these two things happen. So, when we were people in, we do a thing, Em and I do a thing together that we may or may not do anymore. It's called Make It Real. And one of the things that's really fun with Make It Real, you come in the room for 3 days and you leave with a business.
Yeah.
You're going to have a business when you leave. And if you work this right, we're going to stay on you for a year. What we found is that, number one, so many people have not birthed a baby. They're buying diapers and milk, but they haven't birthed a baby yet. Number two.
And then they don't why aren't the diapers and milk giving me ROI on my instant?
Why ain't my baby growing? You don't have a baby.
Go make one.
Right? And the making babies is the fun part.
Yeah.
The other thing that we found is, though, if we can get them through a year, sticking for a year, it might be painful, but they typically win.
Yeah.
If they can stay focused on that thing, and it really doesn't make two monkey shits what they choose.
We've seen some pretty crazy transformations there.
But it really doesn't matter what they choose. It just matters that
They stick to one thing.
That they choose. And they stick with it and give it a year, right? And get with some people that, if it doesn't have to be us, and I don't even think we're excelling at anymore. So, but get with somebody with some business experience and some acumen, and have an advisor or get in a group of people. Be careful with the groups of people, because groups of people are made up of smart people and morons. And when you're in the group, the morons are usually the loudest. Look for people who have had a certain degree of business acumen and say, this is what I'm doing. Will you be my accountability partner for a year or whatever? And this is what I'm
created, I don't know if you even know this, but I created something called the No Excuses Exchange.
Oh.
And every single year, I pick 3 people. It's always different people. Sometimes I'll have one recurring. Emma Pace from last year with me from 2024 to 2025, just because we vibe very well, but everybody usually changes. And all it is like, let's lay out our yearly goals, and every quarter, let's get on a call and hold each other accountable to get to that.
Yeah.
And so I have a text thread called the No Excuses Exchange. We have a meeting that everybody's committed to showing up to. And it has, and I've been doing that for probably 15 years. It's absolutely changed my life.
You got to get people in business.
I've always picked people that I was in masterminds with who had different businesses than me at different, were at my level or higher. I never went below you say it all the time, can't stay 70 degrees in a 100-degree room. And I always want to be getting on calls with people that are doing 5 times more than me, so I feel embarrassed when it's my turn, so that
I love going to mastermind groups of people that are way more successful than me, because it pisses me off.
Me too. I'm very competitive. So when I come on and I'm like, my goal, I met it and I made X amount of dollars, and they're like, yeah, congratulations, thank you. And then they go and give theirs, and it's more than I'll make in the next 5 years. I'm just like, oh, well, that was cue to me.
You'll find people.
You'll level up and level up and level up.
Whether you get in a mastermind group or not, you'll find business people out there that will help you, because most business people like entrepreneurs. They love people coming up, right? They want to help them. And
it's such a different space.
Yeah.
Because most spaces, everybody's competition. And there's something about entrepreneurs that's just completely different than businessmen.
Yeah.
Businesswomen, where they don't want to be the only ones at the top. They want to be at the top. They don't want to be the only ones at the top, and they really want to help. They really want to take credit for some of your. Right. That's what it is. They
because you get older, you run out of energy. I've got a mentor right now who's 88 years old. 88 years old, and one of the reasons he likes me so much, his son is about my age, if you can believe it, and wants nothing to do with his business. Never did. So a lot of times you'll find mentors that they really wanted their family to get involved in the business, or they wanted to teach them something. They feel like they have nobody to hand down their legacy to.
Right.
And I have these groups. We have this Ignite Mastermind group, and we have the Driven Mastermind group. And frankly, I talk about it all the time. I like the Driven Mastermind group. I like hanging out with people. I love the Ignite group.
I really love Boardroom.
They're all about it.
They're all Ignite members, but I really love Boardroom only because we get to see that growth in a very intimate way. Ignite's fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I used to say I used to coach Little League Baseball, and I coached Little League Baseball with my ex-wife's ex-husband. Isn't that weird?
Oh, you told me this before. Nothing you've done shocks me.
He was very athletic. I am clearly not very athletic. So I loved working with the kids who had never hit a baseball. That was my favorite thing in the world to do, was take the kid that was all uncoordinated out and teach them at least to make
one hit.
Because they lit up like a freaking Christmas tree.
Right.
The kid that expected it, when he struck out, he was mad.
Throwing the bat and acting like a little pain in the ass.
Yeah. I loved working with the kids. And if you had enough of those solid kids at the end of the roster, you won games.
Right.
Where you could have 3 rock stars, but if everybody else was terrible and nobody worked with them, you lost games. So it worked out. But I love working with these people at pretty much every level. And I really enjoy working with our driven people that do $50, $60, $100 million a year, because that I can teach them a little thing. We can try a little thing and push a $10 million.
Right. With driven, you've got over $1 billion in revenue in the room. And so something that is a 0.05 lift
Yeah.
can mean $1 million.
But I'm telling you right now, I've got people, I'm thinking about somebody in my head right now. I got somebody right now that's in a business that's worth $25 million. It was a year ago. It's probably worth $12 million today because they've just pulled the attention plug off. They just hate it. They hate that business. And they're off starting something brand new that they know absolutely nothing about. And this is a very rich person. This is a person with a lot of money. They're starting a business they know absolutely nothing about while they're letting this $20 million business tank to below 10, and it'll probably be below 5 by the end of the year. And it's just insanity. And I'm like, why don't you just get somebody to go run this business? Well, nobody run it with me. Nobody knows how to run that business with me. They don't have to grow it. They just have to maintain it, right? So one of the things I have learned over years.
If you don't create SOPs and you don't create a structure that can be replicated.
They have, believe it or not. And it's just idiotic.
But there's also the other side. Ego. There it is. I was going to say the other side of this is I'm the only one that can do this. And they want to believe that.
It's 1,000% ego.
I saw a business owner literally bring on another spokesperson that was outselling her on the same product because she didn't want to be the bottleneck. She didn't want to be. We brought in this spokesperson, and wouldn't you know, the second that she outsold her,
she's out.
Immediately.
Yeah.
We're paying her way too much money. I want you to tell her we're only going to pay her half. And it's like, you can't go back on that contract.
Right.
And it's peanuts. Anyway.
And now,
yeah.
But it's like that. So if you're like that, my advice to you is pick something and commit at least 1 year to it. But make sure that within the first 30 days, you have a 1-year plan where you've got the quarters mapped out. You know what you're going to accomplish. And don't go
insert shameless promotion here. Emma's Wave workbook.
Yeah. Well, get Scope and read it and get Emma's Wave. It's great for the operations of your business, but you're going to have to do things like figure out who your avatar is, who's your customer, what is your offer, how's it fit in the marketplace, what's your branding going to look like, what's your name going to be. Believe it or not, naming a business is like naming a baby. Nobody ever brings home a baby and says, "Who's that?" "Oh, that's baby." That baby's got a name. There's a reason the baby has a name.
And the website URL, the importance of that.
Yeah. So, but birth a thing, right? And if you fuck it up, guess what? You can do another one, but do something. When you're sitting around looking for that perfect, for the stars to all align just perfectly, odds are it's not going to happen. But go get a mentor who's been there and done that.
Or join a mastermind.
Join a mastermind group. Well, you don't have to be ours. We're not pitching our mastermind.
I'm pitching our mastermind. If you're under $1 million, Ignite. If you're over $1 million, Driven. But you're always picking your nose.
Well, you're picking a mastermind. I'm picking.
You pick your nose. You pick your ears. Like you're just falling apart, old man. But if you're under $1 million, Ignite is the only mastermind where you don't have to be a millionaire to belong in. We actually pay you to be in the mastermind.
You explain that if you want to.
And Driven is over $1 million. We're more in the like 15 to 50. But if you're over $1 million, you qualify for Driven. But find a mastermind home, find a network family that can help you grow and create a small group, a small I really like the 4-person dynamic is phenomenal because you end up you always have one Emma, a real freaking asshole that's going to be like, no, that's not what you said last time.
I'll double that on the asshole.
That's not what you said last time. You said this. I kept notes on it. You're going to have a super cheerleader. You've got to have a cheerleader where everybody feels good coming off the call. And then you're going to have someone that just kind of like really floats some great ideas and knows how to ask really good questions of the group. And you create that foursome and it just is super powerful.
I've said for years, the greatest thing in the world is being in business for yourself. I'm a huge believer in being in business for yourself.
Yep. I'm unemployable.
The loneliest place in the world is to be in business by yourself.
Yeah.
And man, it sucks. And if you're trying to, bring a partner in, nobody's good at everything. Bring a partner in if that's what you need. I'll always be willing to share. Here's the thing. Businesses are a renewable resource. You can start one today and, I made a bad business deal and my partner's got too much of the business. All right, then sell out to them, sell to somebody else, give it to them. Who gives a shit? Go do another one. The journey of owning the business and the education that you get by owning the business is far more valuable than the value of the business itself.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because like today, if you drop me buck naked on the street somewhere, I'd be back living in a nice house, driving a nice car in 90 days, right? if you had no resources and no friends, because I've got enough experience now, right? That experience is invaluable. If you do this long enough,
I could see you just picking up tin cans and stripping copper off abandoned houses to get the startup money.
you damn Skippy, I'd be fine.
And you're perfectly comfortable in a freaking red roof. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
I can go anywhere.
For someone who has such a bougie house and bougie shit.
I grew up dirt poor, so it helps you to do that part. And if you grew up dirt poor, it hurts you too, because you want to grab every penny off the ground. You don't let anything go. There's a whole lot more to that. But the most important thing is, don't get on that hamster wheel of doom. Pick some things to do. Pick a thing to do, one thing to do, commit a year to it, and go do it. And if you don't have a business model, find somebody's business model. The truth is, almost all of them will work out. This is a 8 billion person world. There's a market for, there's over 300 websites in the world for people who like to have sex with balloons. That tells me that whatever it is you want to do,
you can probably succeed.
There's a market for it. So,
all right. So visit trainwreckshow.com. We have a bunch of GPTs that you can use to actually use some of the GPTs to work out what your idea is or your offer is.
I've got a brainstorming GPT I'll share in there where you guys can brainstorm your ideas.
Yeah.
And the smartest business minds in the world. This is a cool GPT. It's trained on billionaires. So you can go in there and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And billionaires will tell you why you should do that, why you shouldn't do it. And you can say, hey, will this scale if you were, hey, Steve Jobs, if you were opening a hot dog stand, what would you do? And Steve Jobs will answer you. It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And all that's free.
Voices from
trainwreckshow.com.
We have a whole free tools. Just click on free tools and it's all for you. We don't try and sell anything. Harry just has a really big ego and he just really, really wants people to play with his tools.
I sure do. All right. Thank you all so much for being here.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
We'll see you next time on the Trainwreck Show.
Okay.